Hey guys, I'm Daryl McCoy.
I'm Kobe Page.
We caught up with Martin County head coach Jason James, and he's talking about the newly acquired Big Three and their new high school.
Also got some sad news coming out of the Shelby Valley area.
All that and more coming up next on David and Daryl Sports. Hey guys, Daryl McCoy.
Kobe Page.
Kobe, it's been a while since our last show. This is episode 1 of season 2, and got a lot of exciting things coming up in today's show. But first thing we're going to get to is some tragic news coming out of the Shelby Valley area that you alluded to at the beginning of the show, and that's Cassidy Rowe tearing her for the less than a year after she tore
Break for anybody who plays any kind of sport, especially sophomore in high school. There's no words we can give to express our condolences. The sports are a way for us to we take sports very seriously in the mountains. They're a way for us to all come together, get away, come together. So when things like this happen, it hurts everybody involved, especially people like us who talk about it.
I agree 100%. And talking to Dodo, her father, which is her coach now, the thing that gives you comfort is that UK had reached out to her, and they're giving her like 110% back, and so that's really good that that's something she don't have to worry about.
That's amazing. That shows a lot of the. I'm not sure who reached out to her and her father, but shows a lot of that program at the University of Kentucky. Shows a lot about the University of Kentucky, and we just wish her nothing but a speedy recovery.
I mean, that's all I can say about that, because that's just one of them stories. It literally breaks your heart, and if you know that kid. But one thing, whenever her first injury, if you remember, that was right around the one of the last shows that we had done, and I told you, I guaranteed you that she would tear that other ACL. But if you watch that kid play, the reason that I said that was because she don't have that on-off switch. She goes 110%. She's 100 mile an hour 110% of the time.
Very tough kid, scrappy kid. Plays basketball the way it should be played. Yeah. Play hard between the lines, through the whistle. Tough defense. That's just things like this happen. It's tough to deal with. I
really wish she would have had that on-off switch. You know what I mean? That's just something that a lot of players have and a lot of players don't. But as hard as that girl plays, she's one of the kids that need it. But another thing that that's sad about that situation is what people don't realize. It's not just Shelby Valley or Cassidy Rowe that hurts. That hurts every other athlete in the mountains. because when you got Cassie Rowe on that court, you got eyes on them courts in the 15th region. And her not being on that court, it's going to girls basketball is going to suffer because there's not going to be as much tension on the basketball in the mountains.
That's absolutely right. And the kids at the Dave and Darrell sports camp over the basketball camp over recently heard that exact same message from a couple of the speakers at the camp. Even though the Ryan Lemon said it himself. He got recognized because there were people there looking at someone else, and he just happened to get picked up and spotted. So you're absolutely right, Darryl. There are a lot of aspects to an injury like that here in the mountains, and it's you just can't say it enough. It's a sad situation.
And another bad situation. Talking about that is we had another injury on the boys' side that's going to hurt. That come a hair. We escaped that narrowly, but at the Pike Central Summer League, Trey James ended up breaking his hand. He got undercut by a kid from Letcher Central. It was on accident, but when he come down hard, he ended up breaking his hand. Now, if we have them two star athletes out in the mountains, imagine the impact that's going to take on the basketball season next year.
That'd be huge. That's a dangerous play, getting undercut under the basket. I know Trey's a big guy, so he spends a lot of his time under there trying to battle for boards, battling for rebounds. And a lot of people don't realize, especially here in the mountains, when you're a big kid like that, you're playing against guys a lot smaller than you. So the chances of getting undercut, getting your legs taken out from under you, are honestly higher than anywhere else. So you got to be careful and not serious though, right?
Yeah,
he's not going to miss any time or anything.
He missed 2 games there in the Pike Central Summer League, but yesterday he was back on the floor. His hands was solid purple. You could tell. It was rough, but that's just something we definitely didn't need both of them injuries at the same time, and the basketball gods looked out for us on that. Yeah. Now with Martin County. The big news out of Martin County, they got the new school. They're loading up. I don't know if I know you're a Kentucky boy, but I don't know if you're familiar with Jesse Muncie.
I'm familiar with what Dave and Darrell have reported on young Mr. Muncie. He seems like a tough kid, good ball player, good defender, good offensively, fun to watch. So
fun to watch.
Glad to have him now in the 15th region.
He's dynamite in a small package. and the thing about Jesse is he's at the perfect place because he's getting to play point guard. And if Jesse's going to reach the next level, he has to be point guard. At Tulsa, he was a shooting guard. He carried the scoring load, but at the next level, you're going to see no shooting guards under 6 foot. So it's important that he gets to learn that point guard role. But he's got a lot of help there. Ethan Smith Mills coming from Floyd Central. Trey James, the monster in the middle. Jordan Dalton's there. And they got a slew of young talent that nobody even knows about yet. There's a kid, Coolhan Luke Hill. The kid can shoot the lights out of it. They say he's the best 8th grader in the mountains. I've not watched enough of him to determine that yet, but I was very impressed with that Martin County team and what they've threw together there.
From what I caught from from Dave and Darrell's footage from the Pike Central camp, they look very formidable down low. They are a big 3. They got the big guy to clog up the middle and suck defenders into the paint, and they got 2 guys outside that can dish and sharpshoot. That's tough to defend.
It's very tough, but the thing that they're having trouble with right now, Kobe, is their chemistry issues. They're having chemistry issues. All 3 of them, they pretty much carried the load for their team. So you're taking 3, players that carried the load and they got egos. So that's the tough part. But what they need to take and make sure they better get that chemistry straight, because this weekend at the KBC, they got Chapmanville, and that could get ugly in a hurry.
The chemistry issue, anytime you have some kind of big 3 like that, Darrell, I'm not going to compare these 3 kids to NBA players.
Yeah.
But the chemistry is always a factor when you bring teams like this together. Kids have to get along if they want to play good ball together. Yep. At least on the court, if nothing else. They have to be unselfish. They have to play defense. They have to play together. They have to be able to communicate. Very, very important that they be able to communicate. And I'm sure they'll figure it out. How long have they been playing together? They're a month, month and a half.
Yeah, if that.
Right. So I'm sure they'll figure that out by the time October rolls around. Isn't that when basketball gets rolling for real?
Yep. And if you remember when LeBron went to Miami, it took them a year to get that lined out.
It sure did.
Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, it took them a while to get them chemistry issues and that right there. But the thing is, this weekend, Trey James, he's going to have a point to prove because he's going up against the number one prospect in the mountains, Obina and Achille Killen. So if they don't take and watch out, that could get really, really ugly. And not only that, Jesse Muncie will be facing off against the number one point guard in the mountains, Andrew Schull.
The basketball tradition at Logan and Chapmanville is something that cannot be taken lightly. I don't care if you play them in June. I don't care if you play them in March. I don't care if you play in January. When you go up against a team like Chapmanville with that kind of basketball pride, that kind of basketball tradition, you're going to have your hands full.
I agree 100%. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Kobe, is I don't think you've got over to see the new school yet, but there at Martin County, they got a new school. They said the gym looks like a mini expo. I think that they're doing the right thing. They're going to take a lot of heat by getting these transfers coming in, but I think they need that big splash for the new school, don't you?
Anytime you get a new school coming in, that's always seems to me, in my experience, being here in the mountains in the last, I've been paying attention to it for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
Whenever this isn't a new consolidation of schools, but it is a new school in and of itself. It seems like whenever you have big, new, flashy toys, it attracts some new kids to come play with them.
Oh, we've seen that at Pikesville firsthand with the new weight training facility.
And we've seen, it seems like we've always noticed that as things go along. I'll mention something quickly. I wrote this down when I was preparing for the show this afternoon. Here in our area, I'm from Phelps. You're from the Belfry area, obviously. And a lot of the attention in this area goes to the West Virginia transfers to Belfry, throughout the time. But what doesn't get a lot of attention are the West Virginia transfers. Martin County's on the West Virginia border too.
Yeah.
So is Lawrence County.
Yep.
So they get, you get a lot of transfers to West Virginia, from West Virginia to Belfry, from the Mingo County area, the Mate-One Williamson area. But as you go up the river or down the river, I'm not real sure how the river flows that direction. But as you go that way, Martin County and Tulsa, they're right. Okay,
yeah.
Upriver. Martin County and Tulsa are basically right across the river from one another. Lawrence County, go down the road a little bit. Lawrence County is right across the river from West Virginia. So there's a lot of potential to pull some talent from across the river over there in the Mountain State.
They are, and one thing that you see a lot with Tug Valley and Tulsa kids going to Lawrence County and Martin County like that is they're doing that to avoid that 8th grade year rule, because in West Virginia you can't play as an 8th grader on high school ball.
Yes.
So, I really can't blame them there. If you can take and get a year under your belt of high school ball, I say do it, because we see, for instance, Ethan Colgrove went over his 8th grade year, played at Sheldon Clark. Then he ended up coming back to Tug Valley, but last year they was loaded with freshmen, and that's where that leadership, that experience, it come in for Ethan. As a freshman, he was the veteran on that team because of that year of high school ball.
I witnessed it firsthand myself there when I was in high school as a freshman. There was an 8th grader came up behind me over at Phelps, Mr. Charlie Hunt. Played very well his 8th grade year, and got a lot of recognition that 8th grade year. So if you have the talent, if you have the hard work, the work ethic and things, that 8th grade year could be very beneficial for you.
Oh, I'm 100% with you there, and kudos to them people in Martin County. They deserve that new school. They've been through a lot the last 5-10 years. Heck, they don't even have good running water there. That's a sad situation.
It is.
You got that new school. I hope that's going to take some of the relief off from the community.
Yeah.
But that situation with the water, they have to get that lined out, Kobe.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not 100% up on all the specifics of that. I've just picked up tidbits through the news, but it's a tough situation to be in. Anytime you've got things like if that's something you have to worry about, that's something you shouldn't have to worry about.
Yeah, we take that for granted.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it'd be hard to realize what you got there, but. We're going to go to break. Coming up next, we'll be talking about the David and Darrell camp and what happened in softball season. Be back after a few words from our sponsors.
Makes me feel alive inside and shares all I go through.
Ma'am, we've just been notified that you were in a crash. Are you okay?
No.
Was the accident your fault?
No.
Don't worry, ma'am. We have just dispatched the law offices of Shane Hall and Keith Hall. Everything will be okay.
Call the name you know. Call Shane Hall and Keith Hall, attorneys at law.
Perfect.
All right, guys, we're back from break. Kobe, we got a couple exciting news, not only for the kids, but for us as a company coming up that I want to talk about. We had our first showcase event at Pike Central High School this past weekend, and it was the David and Darrell Rising Stars Camp. You was up there. How'd you think it went?
I thought it was a huge success, Darrell. It was cool. It was fun. It was well organized. The couple that ran the camp, what was their
Carla Booth and Todd Howard, On Point Ballers.
On Point Ballers. Those guys knew what they were doing. They did a great job running the camp. Had great speakers. It means a lot to when you get those kids there. You get people in there that know what they're talking about and can actually give a message. Had some great stuff going on there, and a lot of talent under one roof.
Oh yeah, that is most talent, especially on the girls' side. The girls' side, and then you go to the 8th grade to 6th, the freshman year. We was loaded, packed with talent, but we was blessed to have speakers come in. We had a little bit of pull there, so we got Ryan Lemon to come in. We got Kelly Wells, Randy Casey. We had Cameron Justice, Evan Hall teaching the camp with Carla Booth, Todd Howard. We had J.R. Van Hoos coming. Kayla Van Hoos was there. She's a writer for Bluegrass Basketball. So, that was all organized. We tried to prepare for everything possible to come up. And I think we done a really good job. Of course, there's always a few things that you'd like to have done better. But as far as the level of talent, the big names that we got in there, we had tons of college coaches come watch. We had scouting services. So I was real happy, and I really do think it's going to be the premier camp in the mountains going forward.
I think it's the first of a lot of successful things coming from Dave and Darrell in the future.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of things planned coming up soon. We're talking about right now having 3-on-3 tournaments. We're having marathons, baseball camps, softball camps, tournaments. So we got a lot of big ideals coming out of David and Darrell Sports, and hope you guys. We're gonna put a poll up soon, and we're gonna let y'all help decide what our next event is. But I'm kind of excited.
You should be.
Now, not our camp, but I want to skip to some Pike Central news at the Pike Central camp. I watched a slew of teams, Kobe. Slew of teams.
Put in a lot of work.
Kind of got a feel for what the region's going to pan out to be next year. I was up there. They said, "Who's your top 5?" I think it's going to be. I think Shelby Valley was the best looking team there. Then, whenever you leave Shelby Valley, Paintsville had Kobe Fugit. He was just Shelby Valley. The thing, a lot of people are kind of poo-pooing them because they lost a couple valuable seniors that was role players that got in there and done the dirty work. But what people didn't know is that Eastridge's best player, Eli Sykes, had come over, and he's the perfect player to play. Across from Cody Potter. Keon Warwicks, he's the best point guard in the 15th region. The kid is an explosive. He's a baby face assassin. That's what they call him, the baby face assassin. The kid is a dog. Shelby Valley, they ain't going nowhere. I'm telling you, they're going to win. They'll win the regular season. Then Paintsville, Kobe Fugit, he's right there. Kobe Fugit is one of the top 3 players in the region right now. Whenever you go from Paintsville, I think you kind of got Johnson Central and Pikeville right there together. Then after that, I think Martin County is going to be, if they can get things to gel on paper, they're looking mighty good right now.
They definitely have the size and the shooters there at Martin County. Do you think, Daryl, that there's a fall off after that 5 a little bit, or is it a crowded race after that?
No, I think you got a pack of 3 or 4 teams that could upset them 5 at any time. And whenever I go into saying them teams, so far what I've seen, Betsy Lane, they went 4-0 at the Pike Central tournament. They are looking really good. They got Jordan Frazier, Chase Mims. When you talk about the talent that they got on that Shelby Valley team, and they play as a team, and all 3 of these teams that I'm going to talk about, they're kind of the same way. They play as a team, but one of them kind of stands out a little different. But Betsy Lane, Eastridge, both of them, people sleeping on Eastridge. Eastridge played ultimate team ball. They looked really good. They beat Pike Central there, that game that was talking about. So
their new coach, Brody Justice, over there.
Brody's doing a heck of a job there getting the players to play for them. But the other team I want to talk about is your Phelps Hornets.
Yes.
Trey, they're the oddball because they got Trey Francis. They got a superstar.
Yeah.
But the other 4 pieces, they mix good with Trey, and they play really good team basketball.
Cameron Johnson was at our camp.
Yep.
Dave and Daryl camp, he showed out. He's a great ball player. Then you have Dominique Francis,
Yep.
Who can give you some great minutes, and then
2 I like the most, Sanson and Casey.
Yeah, Jay Casey and Cameron Sanson are both great ball players, and they won the district last year, so they're and they didn't lose anybody. So they're
from what I see, they're winning the district this year.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I watched Belfry. I watched Pike Central. Of course, Pike Central was without their sharpshooter, Bryce Atkins. But just watching them, I think that district is Phelps to lose.
And we know anything can happen come tournament time.
Yep, that's true. Now, want to get to softball season.
Sure.
This was really the first year that we dug into softball really heavy, and I'm telling you, I'm a fan.
you about have to be.
Yep.
It's fast. It's baseball and fast forward.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun to watch, and we watched a good little bit of softball this year.
Oh yeah, when you go through, we was loaded with softball talent here. Coming up the next 4 or 5 years, when you talk about the names, the young names that we got, they are loaded. These teams are, and softball is going to be. It's not only the fastest rising sport in America, but here in the mountains, it's going to be the rising sport that everybody's going to be paying attention to.
It's it's a lot of like we mentioned already. It's a lot of fun to watch. Always something going on. A lot of strategic issues going on with softball.
Yeah.
I know Pikeville High School, Lawrence County High School. A lot of young talent on those 2 softball teams.
Tons of them. When you talk about Pikeville, you just when you get to digging into that roster, you got Randy DeLong. She's a power hitter. I mean, she can send any pitch a packing. Then you got Kendall Hall. Now, Kendall Hall, the queen of swing, she is probably the best young prospect that I've seen in the state. You know, she does everything right. The kid, you know, she's traveled the country working with the best hitting coaches they are, and you can see it, you know, in her swing. I mean, she's a smart kid. She has gathered all that information and come up with the perfect swing, and it's just like King Griffey Jr. It's a beautiful swing.
You and I were watching Pikeville and Johnson Central in the regional semifinal game, and she and one of the 8th graders were the only two players that could really get the bat on the ball from that Johnson Central pitcher, who was really tough.
Oh, and that's the thing when you talk about the young talent. You got Kendall Hall. She's playing on the same team with that Johnson Central pitcher down in the Kentucky in the future showcase event in Ole Miss this weekend. Yeah. So Chloe Van Hoos and Kendall Hall are the only two players on that Smash House team east of Lexington.
That's exactly right.
And when you go down there, you know, I think you got there a list of colleges that's going to be there. I mean, it's the who's who. Just
in the SEC, we've got Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, just to name a few. I mean, there's Missouri. I mean, there's a lot of eyes on those kids, those young ladies down there.
There's 40 teams there, and when you talk about, you know, Kendall, she's got tons of looks. I know NC State is on her really hard, but that's the kid. Both of them right there. Kendall's class of 2021, Chloe Van Hoos 2022. But I think them two right there are going to be two of the players that's going to carry the region, especially when you got players like Kaylee Rash, you know, graduating. You know, she's going up north, up in West Virginia there to play. I don't know how much you know about Kaylee, but Kaylee is a girl. She could have went to college to play sports in 2 different sports. She could play basketball or softball. Her senior year, she went basketball. You know, she put it to the side, concentrated on softball, and it paid off for her.
That's what a lot of kids are doing these days. You know, focusing on one sport. We may talk about that a little later in the show, but worked out for her. So,
well, I think that Kaylee, you know, she's the most durable softball player that I've seen, and I think she's head and heels the 15th region player of the year.
Right. We watched Pike Central this year, the softball program. They were
unbelievable.
Huge steps, huge gains made.
Unbelievable
for the softball program at Pike Central.
You want me to tell you who's responsible for that?
Who's that?
Coach Derek Newsom.
Yeah.
Listen, Coach Newsom, he done the same thing with the basketball team. He took it when he was at Allen Central. Allen Central automatically started winning when he was there. He come to Pike Central. The style of play that he plays, even if he don't have the most talent on the floor, he's going to win because he presses the whole time. He gets every ounce of talent out of a kid. I've never seen a coach that gets that much talent out of their kids. He can get them to run through a brick wall for them. And this year was his first year as softball coach, and he brought the same kind of attitude over to the softball team. So you got to think, I mean, you know, he was a big time baseball player here in the mountains. He had chances tryouts with the Reds, the Indians, but softball was something he had never even dabbed in. This is his first season, and he took them to the region finals.
Yeah. I'll tell you another name to look out for, especially next year. You got a junior. She was a basketball player. I hope I don't seem like too much of a homer, but Danielle Prater, tough athlete. She's getting a lot of recognition from a lot of newspapers, a lot of all-star lists, a lot of accolades and recognition for her play on the softball diamond this year too.
Listen, Danielle Prater, she means more to that Phelps community than people would ever guess. I mean, when you talk about the things that she does, it's not just, you know, she plays multiple sports. You know, that's what you need in a single A school. You need your top players playing every single sport.
It's a necessity.
Yes.
You have to have it.
If you want
especially
to
at
win,
clubs. Yeah.
and that's the thing, Debbie Stiltner, she's kind of been the staple there for years in that softball. I couldn't tell you how many years she's been there. Do you know Coach Will?
I think she's been there since '98.
Since '98. That's crazy.
Yeah, Debbie's been a part of my life since I was a little boy. She's awesome.
Yeah, I love Debbie. Yeah, she's great to us here on the show. But with Danielle Prater, she takes a lot of pride in her. But just a little quick here, real quick. Danielle batted .596. She took at 67 at bat. She had 40 hits. Now, this is the wild thing here. She stole 60 bases out of 63 attempts. 60 bases.
Quick.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
She's got wheels on her.
Yeah.
That girl, she amazes me every time I watch her. She is probably the funnest player to watch. And a lot of people don't get to see her because she's at Phelps.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but I think she'll get a little bit more next year as a senior. May have some more help around her, and we'll just see how it comes out.
I agree 100%. And with that, we're going to go to break. When we come back, we got some exciting news out of the baseball in the mountains. A lot of things I want to touch on, but we'll get to that when we come back from commercial.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
shares all I go through.
Ma'am, we've just been notified that you were in a crash. Are you okay?
No,
Was the accident your fault?
no.
Don't worry, ma'am. We have just dispatched the law offices of Shane Hall and Keith Hall. Everything will be okay.
Call the name you know. Call Shane Hall and Keith Hall, attorneys at law.
All right, guys, we're back from break. Again, I'm Daryl McCoy. It's Kobe Page. Had a really exciting, we just got done talking about softball. Had a really exciting baseball season as well.
Very exciting season. Great district matchups all the way around. And then that regional tournament there's a lot of fireworks, especially in that championship game between Paintsville and Johnson Central. That's always a fun matchup.
Well,
Paintsville and Lawrence County, excuse me.
Exactly.
Johnson Central
and Lawrence County, yeah. The news coming out of that game right there was Jackson Feltner. I mean, the kid, he took, I think that it was a 4-run bomb that ended up breaking the game. He had the bases loaded, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a grand slam. But right before that, the Fairchild, C.J. Fairchild, hit a homer. They hit back-to-back homers and ended up breaking the game wide open. You know, Johnson Central, the thing with Johnson Central, they was scoring second most runs in the state. But Bryce Blevins, you know, he just signed with UK. We just found out, just broke it yesterday. Signed to pitch with them. I think he's a 2022, class 2022 kid. But that kid was on the mound, and he shut that scoring machine of Johnson Central down.
We were actually there catching both games.
Yep.
We were catching the Pikeville Johnson Central semifinal softball game, and right next door was the Lawrence County Johnson Central regional championship game. And it seemed like every time we turned around, there was a ball going over the fence. I've never seen anything like that. I just don't. And it's like we said at the Dave and Darrell camp. I've never seen so many kids dunking in the mountains. I've never seen so many home runs getting hit like that in one game. It was fun to watch.
Oh, I agree 100%. And then when you start talking about Jackson Feltner, you know, the kid led the state in home runs. I don't really know. I can't tell you the last time that's happened out of the 15th region in our area. But you got to think it's probably been a while since something like that's happened.
It's fun to have it right here in the mountains. It's good that we have things like that to go watch and see and be proud of.
Yeah, it is. But a couple more things. Johnson Central, the thing that with them, they also had a kid that just come off a big time offer. Well, he committed to EKU, and that was Blake DeLong.
The thing that I enjoyed watching about that Johnson Central team was this. Like you said, they got busted wide open in the early innings.
Yeah.
And they just kept coming on. They kept trying to come back. They didn't quit. Kept scoring runs. Got it close, but in the end, Lawrence County was just a little too much.
Well, as you know, Kobe, we're still. A lot of people look at our numbers here at David and Darrell Sports, and they think we're bigger than what we are. Just because we may triple other media outlets, followers. When it comes down to it, we're still a group of 5 guys.
Yeah.
And that was. During the postseason of baseball, there was a lot of great games that we actually ended up missing because we was trying to keep up with certain like softball tournaments and trying to get to these district tournaments. But one of the biggest upsets in the mountains was when Shelby Valley knocked off Pikeville in the district championship.
That was a big deal. I know Shelby Valley's coach
Jordan
Compton a little bit. And when I had my own office here in town, he was working in town as well. I got to know him a little bit through that. Super guy, just a great person, and a district championship in his second or third year at Shelby Valley. He's very early on in his head coaching career there. To go ahead and take a district championship from the monster that is Pikeville baseball. Happy for him and happy for that county school.
Yeah, and don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% sure. I'll kind of dig in and see. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Coach Compton may have put in for that Pikeville job whenever they was hiring last year.
May have. If he had, it makes it even a little more sweeter.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be sweet for him. So, one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick in baseball. It may be at the bottom. They get shifted to the back page so often, but Jenkins, that's a school they're new to the region. Whenever they come here, a lot of people right now, they ain't thinking of Jenkins, but what they got great support for the community there in that Jenkins community. And what they done on that 8th grade middle school team this year, I think they won like 25 games. They went something like 25-4. It was crazy, and you got to be excited for Jenkins.
Being a Phelps boy, being a product of Phelps High School, Phelps Elementary, Phelps Junior High, I know a lot about being a small town school and the kind of following that you can gain. When I was in middle school, we had two great teams, a basketball team and a baseball team, and people just coming out and watching. Man, that's a lot of fun, especially in those small communities like Jenkins and Phelps, which are even smaller than places like Pikeville and Belfry.
Yeah, you look at Jenkins. They're an independent school just like Pikeville and Paintsville.
Right.
But like one of the people in the Jenkins community told me that we feel like we're the ugly redheaded stepchild, of the 15th region.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is going to change soon, because when you talk about, under basketball, they got these two Thacker girls, unreal talents. They got a couple really good track stars that's good at certain events there. Their baseball team, this baseball team is coming up, and when you talk about all the talent that's on that 25-4 team, they're going to be hitting high school next year. Give them 2 years, I think they'll be making some noise out of that 59th district. They may not reach the Pikeville level, but I think they'll be to where that every time that you throw out that first pitch, that they'll have a chance to win that game.
I think you know as well as I do, Daryl, the issue there is going to be a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Can you keep those kids in Jenkins just like can you keep those kids in Phelps? If they'll just stick together, play together, it'll be so much sweeter if they can stick together and win some big games through their high school years.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Whenever it comes to that right there, you hate to see, Phelps, we've seen it, Eastridge, we've seen it, Jenkins, we've seen it. The big schools that are Shelby Valley, Pikeville, Belfry, Johnson Central, Paintsville, they seem like, they always end up with the great players from the other ones, and you would like to kind of see that, shift back to.
I know I would.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course you would. And kudos to them stars over at Phelps, because Phelps has done a good job pretty much of keeping their top athletes. Right now when you go over that Phelps community, you got two mega stars in Trey Francis and Danielle Prater.
Yeah.
They're the mega stars on the block.
Oh, then you got Zach Francis playing football too.
Dominic,
excuse me. Dominic. Zach's his brother.
Yeah, Dominic. Dominic he's right there with him. You're right. There's three of them. Dominic may be the best running back in single A next year in the region. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Pikeville people would kind of disagree with that, but Dominic Francis, if he gets the help around him, the kid's a beast.
Yeah.
And we really seen what kind of athlete he is, in that Pike Central camp, because on basketball, Dominic, what people don't realize is he dominated in middle school. Dominic was the man. He dominated middle school basketball.
I've heard stories about the county championship of Dominic Francis doing some amazing things. They won the county championship that year, Phelps did.
Unreal. Phelps, they have. That's one thing coming up. I'm kind of excited. Our producer, Will, he's the coach over at Phelps.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of young talent coming up in baseball. And I know it's tough when you come in your first year. The thing with Phelps this year, they had 3-4, players that was veterans, but they're gone. So now Coach Stevens has got to take and from sophomores down, he's got to work on that talent, develop that talent, and I expect Phelps baseball to do big things.
A lot of people don't realize Phelps has always had some good baseball teams coming out of that little town. I was fortunate enough to watch some growing up, some great individual players that have came through Phelps in the baseball program. So there's some tradition there with Phelps baseball that hopefully Coach Will can keep going.
Well, let me tell you this before we go to break. I want to tell you a name to remember: Stevie Todd Lane.
I know all about Stevie Todd.
The kid's going to be a rock star on Phelps.
Listen,
Watch and see. He's got the blood. I mean, his mom and dad both great athletes.
They were.
They in their own rights. His mom, she was good at pretty much every sport she played over there.
Devin was one of the best athletes to come out of Phelps as far as the girls' sports go.
And then his dad was known as Mr. Rough and Rowdy over at Phelps.
Steve was a good football player too, and he actually played some baseball.
See, I wasn't aware of all that.
Steve was a good football player. Steve was a good football player, and he was a good baseball player. I think he only played 1 year baseball, and he played basketball too. So Steve was a well-rounded athlete.
Well, that's I know I've watched them kids. You know, he also, it's not Stevie Todd. He's got a twin sister, Ivy.
They're not twins. They're a year apart.
Are they a year apart?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
they're in the same grade, but they're a year apart.
Okay. Both of them right there are going to be rock stars on Phelps. Watch and see.
I hope so.
You know, they're already playing varsity sports, and I think Coach Will played Stevie Todd this year, and what's he, 7th grade, Will?
7th grade.
7th grader playing on a high school team.
Yep.
Crazy.
It's a lot of good things hopefully coming from the Hornets.
All right, guys, we got a really exciting segment coming up next. We're going to talk football.
Football.
Man,
we're
it's
thirsty
getting
for football,
season.
man. We're getting thirsty for football.
It's almost August, but we're going to go to break so we can hurry up and get back to them.
Getting excited.
Yep. Word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Makes me feel alive inside and shares all I go through.
Ma'am, we've just been notified that you were in a crash. Are you okay?
No.
Was the accident your fault?
No.
Don't worry, ma'am. We have just dispatched the law offices of Shane Hall and Keith Hall. Everything will be okay.
Call the name you know. Call Shane Hall and Keith Hall, attorneys at law.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, guys, back and better than ever. Kobe, I know Tennessee. You're a big Tennessee fan. You know, if I was buying stock right now, I put all my money on Kentucky, not
No,
Tennessee.
come on now, Daryl.
Tennessee stock's down.
You buy when it's down, Daryl.
No, it ain't coming back
Yeah,
up.
it is too. It's getting ready to skyrocket. But listen, I understand that our audience is more interested in the Cats and the Mountaineers.
Oh no, it ain't that. When you look at the recruits that we got, it's crazy because we're stealing Tennessee recruits. Recruits that has offers from Tennessee, we're taking.
I wouldn't say taking. I'd say in the mix for.
No, I'm saying we're taking them.
Well, we also signed 2 4-star safeties on Friday from the St. Louis area, so we're not too far behind.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, when you talk about,
I won't say signed, got commitments. So however that works.
well, I mean, I'm sure once they get and look at that ugly puke orange, they'll
Come on,
probably.
Daryl, let's not take. Why are we taking personal shots here?
I'm sure that they'll want to, come on over to the good side. But got some big news yesterday. Big news. 4-star defensive player, the Eric Jackson. He had offers. He's out of the state of Georgia, Dublin, Georgia. There was a couple more big names in the recruiting world that come out of that city, Dublin. It stuck in my mind. I can't remember who it was, but that city's produced a couple big name players. But the Eric Jackson, he had offers from, when you talk about the SEC schools, he had Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Florida was one of them. But for Kentucky to get in there and steal a player like that, from one of them big schools, that's crazy. And right now, Coach John Summerall, he's a new coach to the UK staff, and what he's doing down there in the southeastern part of the United States in the recruiting, I mean, it's been invaluable. It's just like what Coach Merrill's done in Kentucky and Ohio and Michigan.
Daryl, you know as well as I do, if you want to win games in the SEC, you got to get kids out of Georgia, out of Florida.
Yep.
And that's just where the athletes are. That's where the talent is, in the Atlanta area, in the Marietta area, Alpharetta areas in Georgia, and then all over the state of Florida. If you can go down into those 2 states and get yours, you don't even have to get them all.
Yeah.
You just have to get your share. You can become a great program.
Well, what UK done last year with that 10-win season, that right there is, that's going to feed players into that program. Then you talk about, you could talk about Ohio State, you could talk about Tennessee, you can talk about Michigan, but our recruiters in Lexington, they are as good as any recruiters in the nation. When you talk about Coach Marrow, he went up there and got Jordan Rogers. He's a 4-star lineman, had offers from Michigan, Ohio State, multiple colleges out west, and he's coming to Lexington because of Coach Marrow. Then, whenever you go and look at, 4-star Lamar Goods, we got him. John Young. That's the key thing, is getting our best players in the state to come to Kentucky, because they have a history of going elsewhere, and including Louisville's really done good. Yeah. And so far, we wiped the table with them. None of them went to Louisville, and they're all going to Kentucky.
Here's the thing: as an SEC school, you have all of the benefits to you when you're battling an SEC school like Louisville out of the state of Kentucky. You've got the big games. You're going to have a chance to play against Alabama. You're going to have a chance. You play Florida every year. Louisville.
Third week of the season, we play Louisville, prime time ESPN. It just come out the schedule.
That is awesome. That'll be that, man. I get a tough time because I'm a Tennessee fan, but honest to goodness, I really do like seeing Kentucky get things like that, man. It's. I have a lot of close friends who live and die with the Cats, just like I live and die with the Vols. So that's exciting news. It's cool stuff.
Well, you just got to think what we've done here in our own state. I tell you that the recruit that opened all that up he's a 3-star quarterback out of LCA, Lexington Christian.
Yeah.
No, Lexington Catholic is where he's from. The Lexington Christian, they have the Barnhart kid. But Lexington Catholic quarterback, Bo Allen. The kid, I've seen him up close and personal. When I sit here and think about it, Tim Couch was the last quarterback that I can remember in the state of Kentucky. You had Jared Lorenzen. I forgot about him. Jared Lorenzen. Probably since Jared Lorenzen, this is the best quarterback to come out of Kentucky. Bo Allen. I seen him play last year against the Belfry Pirates over in postseason play over at Belfry. The kid is unbelievable. He literally, him and Isaac Dixon, the running back at Belfry, they got in a shootout. Neither one, their defenses just wipe that out. Defenses might as well not even showed up that day because both of them, they was putting on a show, fireworks. I mean, it was, both teams, if I'm not mistaken, scored over 40 points, and it was just them two players having shootouts. And Bo Allen, seen then, the kid has the body, he has the arm, he has the mind. He throws passes that you just don't see, kids in Kentucky throwing. He can take and thread the needle on passes. He's got a really soft touch. He can, lob it down in it. But, Bo Allen was the key to this recruiting class because when they found out Bo Allen was coming, that's when you seen all these pieces fall in place. Last 2 days, we've had two. We've had a 3-star running back, Torrance Davis, and a 4-star running back, or vice versa. 4-star running back, Torrance Davis, 3-star Jaton McClain. Those right there are the athletes that you need to compete with the top SEC schools.
That's exactly right. But here's the thing, Daryl. You always got to remember this: the stars. When you put the jersey on, when you put that blue UK jersey on, the stars fall away. Can the coaching staff at the University of Kentucky make those 3, 4, 5-star recruits into the athletes that they have to be to win ball games in the SEC?
Listen, that was one of my biggest arguments with Coach Stoops at the beginning. Matt Elam, he ended up, Matt Elam was a 5-star defensive lineman. He went to Kentucky and he bombed out.
Yeah.
My thing, if he would have went to Alabama, he chose Kentucky over Alabama.
I remember him.
If he would have went to Alabama, I don't think he would have had them problems. I think Nick Saban would have had him on a training regiment. He would have made sure his weight was right. But that's something that Stoops has shored up since then. And when you look at the players he's developed, it's been crazy. Look at Cash Daniels.
Exactly
who would have ever thought? Yeah. We're the biggest Cash Daniels fans in the world here in the mountains.
I'm a Cash Daniels fan.
Yeah, and who would have thought that Cash Daniels would have turned out to be one of the top 20 premier players in college football?
He's a scrappy kid. 3-star. What was he, even a 2, 3-star coming out of high school?
3-star.
I mean, that's what I was saying a second ago. Once you put that jersey on, the stars don't matter. If you bust your hind end and you learn the system, are coachable is a very important attribute to have as a college athlete. If you're coachable and you listen to your coaches and you put in everything you've got, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to make a good team.
Well, I want to talk about a kid that was down in Kentucky this weekend. He literally murdered every defensive back he went up against, including the ones that UK had offered. And that's Jackson Hensley from Pikeville.
Yeah.
The kid, he's 6'1". I think he's like 185 pounds. The kid is a beast. He's physical. He's a competitor. And he's got 4.4 speed. But the kid still is hearing crickets out of Lexington. Still no offer out of Lexington after all that. Yeah. Word is they have their eye on a kid from Louisville, Louisville Central, maybe a wide receiver. But when you got a kid like that and he just done what he done to defensive backs that you already offered, why not offer him?
Yeah, Daryl, you run into a lot of issues in college recruiting. Maybe it's the size. Maybe the wide receivers they're looking at, instead of 6'1", maybe these guys are 6'3", 6'4". I don't know what this young Hensley man's vertical is. Maybe
37 inches. Well, I know what it is.
Maybe the guys they're looking at are more apt to go up and get a jump ball in the end zone. But listen, I'm just nitpicking at this point. I mean, that's, you ask me. That's the only things I could think of just right off the top of my
head. I just don't understand that. When you talk about Eastern Kentucky, if you're wanting the top players out of Eastern Kentucky, why not get the number one all-around athlete in the mountains?
I agree with you.
That's Jackson Hensley. But the kid's going to be all right because he takes his academics just as serious as he takes his athletics. And what that's got him on this recruiting trail is offers from 3 Ivy League schools: Yale, Dartmouth, Cornell. The kid, that's something that you don't see mountain kids get.
If you can get an Ivy League education, you have set yourself up for so much success in the future, regardless of what you want to do, regardless of if you want to be a football player or a stockbroker or somebody that sits and talks about sports or whatever, an attorney, a doctor. If you can get an Ivy League education, then UK can take their scholarship and give it to somebody else. As far as I'm concerned, you are head and shoulders above a lot of other people.
Well, maybe one day, if he goes to one of these Ivy League schools, he can, that'll give him enough, respect, reputation where he can sit down and we can talk about our days, his days at Yale, my days at Southern West Virginia Community College. Kind of compare the big dog.
Yeah, that sounds
the college world.
I'd like to be part of that conversation.
But
that
next thing I want to get to in football before we leave Pikeville. Seth Pugh.
Yeah.
He's another kid.
He has an Ivy League offer too, I believe.
Yeah, from Dartmouth.
Yeah.
Now that kid right there, he's a track star. The kid, last year he was really good at basketball too. He quit basketball just so he could concentrate on football, and it's ended up paying off because he's got an offer from Dartmouth, and he's a track star too. He's the king of the high jump around here. I think he's like 6'4" or 6'3" is what he sets the bar on. Yeah. He's usually the bar setter when it comes to that event, here in the mountains. But all congratulations to Seth. That's great for him getting that. And then now I want to move. The hottest topic in football right now, in mountain football, is West Virginia versus Kentucky.
Yeah.
Mingo Central versus Pikeville. Pike County Bowl.
That's going to be a blast. I ever since Mingo Central became a school, I've been waiting on them to play Belfry. That's been what I've been waiting on.
They're scared of us.
We'll let that be a conversation for another day. But hey,
now all jokes aside, that right there, that game is supposed to be in the works, and maybe next year we might see that.
That would be cool. But hey, listen, get that team over here. Let's see where both teams stand. Let's see where they stand. I mean, let's see where Pikeville stands with the West Virginia talent. Let's see where Mingo Central stands with the Kentucky talent. I think it's going to be a blast. I'm excited about that game.
Well, let me tell you right here. I'll tell you kind of the state each program's in. Mingo Central, they just got the big dogs back. They got their receiving corps.
Okay.
Dalen Goad, he's the kid. He's the premier pocket passer in the mountains. The kid can sit back in the pocket and pick teams apart. He's that kind of kid. He's that kind of talent. He's got an arm like Jared Lorenzen. The kid he's all that, and with a cherry on top. Now, his weapons went to Logan last year to play basketball with David Early. All right, now they're back.
Okay.
Yeah, Drew Hatfield, Devin Hatfield, both of them. Guaranteed that both of them. Drew would be pushing 2,000 yards receiving, and then Devin, he'll have over 1,000, and both of them probably have multiple touchdowns. That's the kind that they are. But another key, they got Joey Fields back. Joey Fields is the head coach that took state championship with Jeremy Dillon. He's back on that staff. That right there is going to mean the world. I know that they've got a couple more players coming in there. It's going to be fun to watch because right now, Pikeville, they're on the verge. All of us on Pond Creek, we're kind of nervous, because Pikeville, they're loading up. They got this new weight training facility.
Yeah.
We hear about these big stars that they're getting over there, and who wouldn't want to go play for somebody that has facilities like that? That's college facilities.
It really is.
And the thing, can't knock them for it, but both programs right now are on a high. And they're going to collide in that Pike County Bowl. Both fan bases I mean,
that'll
that's
be
what's
fun.
wild.
Yeah,
you know,
that'll be fun.
You got two different fan bases, and both of them come from two different. I mean, they're two different worlds.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
you
That's
got
exactly
Pike
right.
Central, or you got Mingo Central.
All county.
Yeah, or Pikeville. They're the
City
uppity.
school.
Yeah, they're a little uppity. But they're die hard.
That's
They
right.
got tradition. It's going to be fun watching them two cultures.
Yeah.
Come together.
It's going to be fun.
But I cannot wait for that game. I mean, the Pike County Bow, that game right there will be one of the hottest tickets. Watch and see. I promise you.
I agree with you.
That game will get sold out.
That'll be fun to watch. The thing with those pocket passers, Daryl, you gotta keep them on their feet.
Yep.
Got to keep them on their feet. I watched Pikeville last year. They have a solid defensive line that can get after it.
You got a quarterback coming back, Coach Mack's son.
Yeah.
Isaac McNamee.
Yeah.
Kid, Boomer Esiason, spitting image of him. He's beautiful. I mean, when you watch his stature, it's beautiful. Then you put the weapons around him: Jackson Hensley, Seth Pugh, Cody Raines, John Cullum. I mean, they're going to be explosive. So Pikeville, if they can shore that line up, I really do think that they'll have a chance to, be right there they'll be in a game this year and have a chance to beat Belfry. I mean, they got that kind of talent. But that being said, one last thing. I want to give a big shout out to my normal co-host sits in this chair, David Jones.
Yeah.
What he's done at Bourbon County has been, second to none. He's put together a coaching staff. It's the who's who of Louisville and former Kentucky players, and he's got all the players up there that he needs. And watch and see, Bourbon County, they're going to make fireworks this year.
I want to thank David for a couple of things. One, I want to thank him for allowing me to sit in this chair and talk sports with you for a couple hours. Through the week, he's a little farther away now, so it's a little harder for him to get back and be part of this show. And I thank him for letting me do something so fun as this. And I also want to thank him for what he did at Phelps, man. I mean, those few years he put in there at Phelps, he did more in those few years than any coach that I can remember in such a short time. Bill McKinney was there for a long time and did a lot of good things, but since Coach McKinney left, there hasn't been very much of a consistency there. And David came in those few short years and he made Phelps respectable. And that was
main thing he gave the community. He gave them pride.
Yeah,
he changed.
absolutely.
He changed the culture in that community.
He did. He surely did. And and I'll be remiss if I didn't thank him for letting my dad drive the bus and hang around the team. But
dangerous Don Page.
Yeah, he's a good. But and I wish him nothing but the best at Bourbon County. He left Phelps in as good a shape as they've been in a long time.
All right, we got a couple segments left, but we're going to take a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back, guys.
Perfect. 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 Perfect.
I go through.
Ma'am, we've just been notified that you were in a crash. Are you okay?
No.
Was the accident your fault?
No.
Don't worry, ma'am. We have just dispatched the law offices of Shane Hall and Keith Hall. Everything will be okay.
Call the name you know. Call Shane Hall and Keith Hall, attorneys at law.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, guys, we're back for one of my favorite segments, Bad or Good, Kobe. Bad or Good. We got a few good topics coming up, but first I want to ask you something you don't see much these days, but multi-sport athletes. What's your version on that? Is it bad or good playing multiple sports?
You know, I go back and forth on this a lot, but right now this is the way I'm looking at it, Daryl. You know, if you can play every sport, why not? And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how proper, how correct the science is behind it, but I've heard and read that a lot of these injuries that these kids are having these days are due to being single sport athletes. Your muscles aren't used to turning and twisting the way they do when you're playing basketball for 2 or 3 months, then you're playing football for 2 or 3 months, and you're playing baseball for 2 or 3 months. Your muscles learn and bones learn to turn and twist in different ways. If you only play one sport, your body's only trained to do one thing. You do one, and then you do something out of the ordinary, and boom, you've torn a ligament, strained a muscle. Done something to hurt yourself. And again, being from a single A school from a small town, best athletes got to play all the sports, man.
Well, kind of to combat that, that's more wear and tear on your body.
Yeah.
So when you talk about injuries, that's just as much. You got you're going year round to where you got one season. But I agree with you. I'm not. Don't take it as I was disagreeing on that subject. I think players playing multiple sports is a great thing.
Yeah.
I give it 2 thumbs up. That right there, players, like you said, they learn to move different ways. It helps them, because most of them, just getting down to it, they play year-round anyways in that one sport. Right. So, when it gets down to it right there, but you hit on it right there. These single-A schools around here in the mountains, they are the ones that's got to have their players playing multiple sports. Now, here's my thing. I'm all for it, 100% for it. But I do like to see, whenever they get to high school, I like to see them narrow it down to 2. The 2 sports that you're best at, or the 2 you want to go play next level at. Yeah. Then when it comes to your junior year, if you got offers, narrow that down, play one sport. Yeah. Concentrate on that year round. Have it to where you're going in with the best chance to make an impact as a freshman into college. That's kind of the way I see it. Now, if you don't have offers, keep playing them. Now, if you're a mediocre player, if you're a good player at every sport, play them all, because those are high school memories.
Exactly.
So that's where I'm at. Yeah, I think it's kind of a case-by-case basis. In general, I like to see them play multiple sports, but I do like to see them kind of narrow it down as their high school career ends, because ultimately it just makes them a better player at their craft.
I agree with you, Daryl. I agree with you. We've been watching a lot of pro sports lately.
Yeah.
Got some fan interference topics. What do you think about, especially about Drake, the Toronto Raptors super fan? And then we also had the incident with at the Golden State Warriors game in the Oracle Arena with the investor, owner,
Yeah.
whatever, pushing Kyle Lowry. What do you
Yeah.
think about those two incidents?
Listen, I love it. Love it. People's taking the entertainment out of sports.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I was growing up, I remember one of the biggest plays or fights I ever seen was when, for instance, that was when Jeff Van Gundy had grabbed on Alonzo Mourning's leg and was getting dragged around the court. Yeah. But the days that the reason I wanted to bring it up is because in them days Spike Lee, he was the main guy that was courtside.
Yeah.
I like it. I do. Now the putting the hands on them, that's different. That's kind of crossing the line to where the Malice in the Palace.
Yeah.
That big brawl. That's kind of crossing over when you're putting hands on them. But like Drake being there, let him do it. It's nice to have a celebrity synonymous with a team, because that's just going to get them fans that ain't normal NBA fans that's going to cross over. And I think it's good for the sport.
Here's where we're going to disagree, Daryl. I can't handle Drake. I can't handle him. And it may just be Drake. I don't know.
Call me on myself.
Yeah, call Drake. And here's the deal with Drake. If he were like Spike, I remember Spike Lee. I remember him in the 90s being all in Reggie Miller's face.
Yep.
I remember him getting after those Davis boys for the Pacers.
Yep.
I remember that. But the thing with Drake is, he wants the camera to be on him. He want, and I don't know Drake obviously, but that's the impression that I get when I watch these games. I feel like he's saying, "Look at me," and I can't deal with it. And if we have to say stop fan interference,
You and Drake don't hang out at the Hornets' Nest on the weekends?
It's Hornets. Let's get that clear. Let's get that straight. It's not the Hornets' Nest. It's just Hornets. But anyway, no, me and Drake aren't close. But I can't handle it. And the issue with the owner pushing Kyle Lowry, he was fined $500,000 and suspended from games all of next season. Daryl, I think that's proper punishment. It's like you said, you cannot put your hands on players. I mean, you cannot do it. I don't care how much of the team you own. I don't care how big of an investor you are into a team. When you're in those stands, when you're sitting in those chairs, I don't care if you're courtside. I don't care if you're in those new seats now where you're between the bench and the press box. You're a fan.
Yeah.
You are a fan. So no touching, watching only, scream and yell all you want. Don't give the coaches massages, and don't push Kyle Lowry.
Nah, I enjoy a massage every now and then. You think we could get somebody come in here during the show and give me a massage?
Call Drake.
Yeah, there you go.
He'll give you one.
Now, here's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's one of the hottest topics in sports right now. It was a word that never was, it wasn't even in the vocabulary a year ago. It's transfer portal.
Right.
Now, so far we've seen a couple of the big schools around here. You got the West Virginia fans, WVU. We've seen UK. Both schools, they've kind of, got the good and the bad from the transfer portal. Start with WVU. We've seen our own Tyrese Allen. He transferred out of WVU. They lost three defensive backs in the transfer portal. It's actually really surprising me, but to get back to the transfer portal in general, how do you feel, good or bad?
I think it's bad, Daryl. I understand the side of the argument that says let these kids, make their decisions, but it puts, if you don't have the transfer portal, puts more of an emphasis on the recruiting process. Pick somewhere. Don't just pick a school because they won a national championship last year. Don't just pick a school because they have fancy weight training facilities. Pick a school because you like the area. Pick a school because you love the tradition that's been there for 50, 60 years, not just been there a year or two. not just a coach that's been there a year or two. Pick a school because you appreciate the education that you're going to get when you go to that college. If you have to put that much emphasis on your recruiting, as opposed to if you get mad at a coach and want to transfer, then you're going to take your recruiting more seriously, and you're going to pick a school that you like for the right reasons. If the transfer portal option is there, you say, I don't care. I'll go here, and if this coach leaves after a semester, I'll leave too. If we don't win a national championship this year, I'll leave too. I feel like removing the transfer portal makes an athlete choose a college for the right reasons.
You want me to tell you what you just did?
What?
You spit utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Why is it okay for coaches, they same thing. They can get up and leave at the spick of a moment. They don't have to sit out a year.
Right.
They don't have to do anything.
You're right.
They get a better contract. They get to go. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Why is it okay for coaches to do it and players not?
I understand that argument, but at the same, I really don't have a defense to that, Daryl. All I know is you see a lot of this going on. And it's like I said a second ago. You get halfway through spring practice, and the defensive backs coach was a little hard on you at practice today. Didn't let you run some routes or didn't let you defend the guy you wanted to, and you jump in the transfer portal and you say, "I'm done. I'm gone." I can't get behind something like that.
Well, you got to look at it from both sides now. You got, for instance, you go to you send your school. Okay, you have a recruiter coming into your house telling you, okay, your kid, I'm going to take care of your kid. He's going to be safe. He's going to be took care of. He's going to have everything he needs. He's going to have the support he needs, and he's going to have the tools it takes to reach him to the, professional sports, whatever one you're in. Okay, if a kid gets out to college, he's by himself, all right? More often than not, we're blessed, here in Kentucky, we got a big program where every kid's taken care of. But, in football, they got so many players on the roster, they forget about them kids. For instance, you get there, some coaches, they didn't know the kid, really well. If you look at Michael Leach a few years ago, he was rough on his kids, locked one in a building. That gives them kids right there a way out. For instance, here's the thing. Players using it just to hop back and forth, I don't like, but it's kind of a sensitive issue with me because, Cameron Justice, he's a friend of the show here.
Yeah.
He's he committed to Tennessee. They fired the coach.
Right.
All right. He decommitted, went to Vanderbilt. All right, when he committed to Tennessee, he shouldn't be looked down on because he committed to that coach. They fired that coach. So he didn't commit to any other coach. That coach was the one that got him to that school. Okay? Went to Vanderbilt. Same situation. Fired the coach that recruited him there. Brought a new coach in. He wasn't part of that coach's plan. So hopped in transfer portal. Went to play for his best friend, Evan Hall, with him at IUPUI. Played for great Arizona basketball player Jason Gardner. Loved him to death. Loved his game. I was a big fan of his growing up. But he went there. Evans graduated. Now that this move right here is the one that I kind of if I had to pick quarrels and kind of let you have your way there, Evan left, so Evan graduated, so Cameron's leaving, going to WKU. Mm-hmm. I see your point there, but the other ones, you got to think there's always more than one reason. You got to both sides of the situation.
I think we could go back and forth on this all day, Daryl.
Yeah, I do too. Now, one thing real quick that I want to get you bad or good real quick on is it transferring down before we leave this down to the high school level. What you feeling there?
That's a totally different animal there, Daryl. It's a lot more scrutiny. There are a lot more restrictions on that. This is the Phelps in me. I think kids should stay where they are, man. Stay there. I love seeing the kids stick together. and being able to win championships from the time you're 10 years old all the way up till you're 18 and senior in high school. I think that's the coolest part of it all.
Well, I'm kind of old school in that situation. I like to see kids stay home, but at the same time, West Virginia and Kentucky, West Virginia don't let you play in 8th grade. Kentucky does. That year of high school ball as an 8th grader, like I said before, it's invaluable. Yeah. So I kind of, see it there. Now, some of these kids, they're just brats. Yeah, they are. They're brats. They don't get their way. We're gone. Yeah. Well, you promised me I'd get to start left tackle instead of, right guard. Yeah. They're gone. Yeah. That's the stuff that needs to put a stop to. Yeah. Now, I also kind of see, we're seeing it right now, a lot of heat on Pikeville because they got the new weight training facility. Yeah. If my kid was playing, I'd want him to go have the best tools, to make sure that he achieves his dreams. Yeah. So, I'm all for that part, but there's certain ones, I think that's a case by case issue too.
Yeah, maybe.
But last one on our agenda, 3-point line, moving back. Good or bad?
I love it. Anytime you can make the American game more international, open it up for maybe some international kids come play college ball here in the United States. Anything you can do to make the game more international, I'm 100% behind.
I like it because right now, like I told you, I'm OG, real OG. Now, I like the back to the basket, like the post game, and them what they call them, Trash Brothers or Splash Brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah. There you go, Trash Brothers. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they've run the NBA game. It's a 3-point world now.
How much time we got left, Will? We got time to discuss 5 more? I'm cutting us off there. All
right, guys, we're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back for our final segment.
Perfect.
shares all I go through.
Ma'am, we've just been notified that you were in a crash. Are you okay?
No.
Was the accident your fault?
No.
Don't worry, ma'am. We have just dispatched the law offices of Shane Hall and Keith Hall. Everything will be okay.
Call the name you know. Call Shane Hall and Keith Hall, attorneys at law.
guys, we're back for the last segment. Favorite segment of the day. It's
I'm
the
excited
rundown.
about this one, Daryl.
Very excited. The rundown.
We're going to let our producer get in on this next segment. Will's going to give us topics. Daryl and I are going to have about 30 seconds to give our
plead our case.
opinion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, give our opinion, what we think about each topic. So, or maybe just give you some information on it. So, we're ready when you are, Will.
All right, Daryl, talk about Kelly Wells.
Kelly Wells, new AD at Pikeville. What he's doing there is tremendous. He's literally turned the town of Pikeville around in his time as as head coach at UPike. But now he's got the AD job. They got a new football stadium coming. They the uniforms, every program's on the rise when you look at it. But Kelly, he's at every one of these events. I've seen him at baseball, softball, basketball, you name it, football. Kelly Wells is there, and he's going to make the biggest impact.
Okay, second on the list, Cleveland Browns.
I'm not a big Cleveland Browns fan, but, man, they have done so much work this offseason. They have so much hype behind them. They're getting a lot of love out in Vegas as far as Super Bowl favorite goes. I mean, obviously they picked up the big-time wide receiver out of New York. And then, and my brother, my brother Mac, he's not a very big NFL guy. He has adopted the Browns as his favorite team. He's ready to watch them this year. Regardless of how many games they win, they're going to be fun to watch. Fun to watch, man.
Kayla Van Hoos.
Kayla Van Hoos. She's everything she touches is gold. She had the Johnson Central bowling team, one of the top teams in the region. Put a couple players, actually the only two players out of the region in UPike. She also, the volleyball program, got youth volleyball in Johnson County turned around. They're on the star. But the thing I want to talk about Kayla Van Hoos, listen, Kayla Van Hoos, she is the new rider in the Paintsville, Johnson Central area for David and Daryl Sports. So give a hands up for Kayla.
Awesome.
Paul Pierce poops in his pants.
Well, you kind of gave away the ending to my story there, Will. Everybody knows what happened in 2008. Paul Pierce, the big three, got put up on with the Boston Celtics with him, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen, and he was one of the first 2-3 games of the finals. Paul Pierce goes down behind the goal, and he gets walked out of there or rolled out of there in a wheelchair, and we all assumed he hurt his leg. He came back a few seconds later, played just like nothing ever happened. When we found out nothing really did happen, he just actually pooped his pants. Had to go change his undies.
Did the Warriors let Kevin Durant play hurt last night?
That right there, that was the biggest shock I ever seen. They was down 3-1 in the series. They had to take and pull something out of the rear to end up. They had to do something because what they was doing wasn't working, and Kevin Durant was the only way that they had a chance to beat the Raptors. They ended up pulling the win out, but it was at the expense of Kevin Durant's career, and I say bad move by the Warriors. I think it was a horrible decision. Hopefully he don't lose much money on that, but who knows? Maybe next time.
All right, Kylie Hall to Phelps.
Another Phelps subject for me. This is one I'm really excited about, man. The girls basketball program, coached by Johnny Fields. Now they added another piece, young Miss Kylie Hall. She's a great basketball player, great kid. I know her dad really well. He was a little bit older than me in school, but he was a great athlete. I know Kylie's family real well. Great people. Kylie's going to be a great addition to that team. She's coachable. She plays hard. You put her with Danielle Prater.
Okay, next, WVU, all sports losing transfers.
Tell you what, WVU right now, surprising that they're in that situation because they have the premier coach in Neil Brown, former Kentucky coach. He's a Boyle County native, but he's losing players like hotcakes. I mean, when you talk about, he's had, I think, 3 safeties or 3 DBs, and then you had Tyrese Allen coming out. You'd think that'd be one stick with Neil Brown because he's a Kentucky boy from Paintsville. But for something they're doing there, it's in every program. WVU, everybody's wanting out of Morgantown.
Big Poppy being shot.
Listen, we've had so many reports on this story, Daryl. I don't know which one to believe. It came out he was shot during a robbery. Then the next thing you find out, he's shot at a nightclub in the Dominican Republic. I've even seen stories where he was shot by a drug lord's wife that accused him of sleeping with her. I mean, this has just been crazy. Now they brought him back to Boston. He had to have a second surgery. I mean, hey, listen, Big Poppy helped the city of Boston get through that Boston bombing. I hope he pulls through, man. Really rooting for him. He's that smile, man. How could you not root for that smile?
Kentucky, Memphis.
Tell you what, Penny Hardaway, he's barking up a tree that he has no business at. He's come at Kentucky. He's took 2 or 3 of our top recruits, including the prize possession, James Wiseman. Right now, he says he wants some of Kentucky. Personally, I would like to see Kentucky figure out a way to make that happen because John Calipari, with his history at Memphis, we need to be playing Memphis, and we definitely need to be putting a boot in Penny Hardaway's rear.
NFL players Antonio Brown, Russell Wilson, and Bell having too much power.
I think this is what the NFL Players Association has really bargained for this. They look up to the NBA, the power they have to make those big threes, get as much money as they can. This has been collectively bargained over the last few years. It's something that the Players Association has worked for. Do they have too much power? I don't know. They have a lot of power, Daryl. But hey, if the owners didn't want them to have it, they had the time to give their say. I'm happy for these guys. I hope they get paid and hope they play well and make that money.
Kevin Winslow.
Tell you, Kellen Winslow, he is a former rock star tight end. Played at the University of Miami. Come from there, back in the day when Miami was Miami football. But this news right here, raping a 54-year-old woman. Now, what a lot of people don't know, he already had charges indicted on raping a 77-year-old woman and getting a 17-year-old girl drunk and taking advantage of her. Now, whether they pass that off on that protocol.
Assistant Arizona coach jailed.
This looks to me like another Rick Pitino issue, man. These head coaches at these college programs, unfortunately, are barricaded and protected by the assistant coaches. It's a tough situation, and then this guy actually went to jail. I mean, I don't know if anybody in the Rick Pitino scandal went to jail. I know some guys got in trouble, but those guys were there to protect Pitino. This guy was obviously there to protect the Arizona head coach, and whatever this system is they have, I guess it's working, whether it's good or not.
Anthony
Davis wanting out of New Orleans. Tell you what, right now the word is he's going to Los Angeles, but everybody that's playing with LeBron there, the thing is nobody is saying anything good about LeBron right now. Look at Rajon Rondo. Pretty much talked about LeBron, wanted them there, and then all of a sudden now he's just throwing them away like rag dolls to try to get the next big thing. Anthony Davis thinks it's a bad move. Hope he goes to the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, 2020 champ.
Wendell Robinson.
This is Kentucky's Mr. Football. Went out to Nebraska, started playing some ball. Looks like he's gotten into a little trouble. You hate to see these kids getting away from home. Maybe got in with the wrong crowd. He got busted with a little bit of pot. Listen, kids make mistakes. Hopefully, that's all this is. Hopefully, it's just a mistake. Hopefully, if this was a case of getting with the wrong crowd, he gets away from that crowd. Hopefully, if this is a case of making bad decisions, he learns from this decision.
We can rehabilitate him at Kentucky.
Fans cheer Kevin Durant's injury.
Pathetic. Listen, a player's getting hurt. One of the worst things that you can ever do. Whenever they took and cheered Kevin Durant getting hurt, that just showed. I'm a big fan of Toronto, but that was a classless move. I guess classless fans like your classless leader, Drake. All right, guys, that's going to be the end of our rundown segment. We want to give our final shout out. Final shout out goes to Randy McCoy for a great career at East Ridge. Kudos to Randy. Seen him at the Prestonsburg game. I'm sure Randy, he'll be around mountain basketball sometime. But congratulations on a great career, and we wish you the best, Coach McCoy. That's it for David and Daryl Sports. We'll see you next time. Same channel.